The Evil Dead, man. It's wild to think a simple stepping stone could be filled with such creativity, soul, and presence. Director Sam Raimi, along with producer Robert Taper and Bruce Campbell, have said that The Evil Dead's original intent was to show the skills needed to get into the business. They liked horror being sort of their gateway in. And in they got.
We enjoyed the genre, but I wouldn't call us horror geeks at that time. We made a horror film because it was a good way to get your foot in the door.
Clearly, after the smoke of a brutal, hellish, and overly long shoot ended, they realized what they had. And even if it didn't fully kick in then, by the time they got working on the fan favorite part 2, the magic was clear to everyone involved. So, there's not much to say that hasn't already been said about The Evil Dead, but it resulted in a seminal work of art that would pave the way for a lasting legacy. We have 2 different eras of movies, we have games, a brand new one, a TV show. All of this proves the lasting impact of Raimi's first feature. But like Ash's sanity break in Evil Dead 2, or the S-Mart speech in Army of Darkness, The Evil Dead has its own moment of perfection. Now, obviously the 2 that I just mentioned may not be the best in their respective movies, but I'm going to argue it is definitely the quintessential scene that changes the trajectory going forward in each movie. And for The Evil Dead, that scene, the infamous tree assault. In terms of gory effects, bizarre framing, or the relentless dread of the last 15 minutes, the tree scene may not be the one that comes to mind, but it crosses that line into brutality with such ease that you'd almost consider it tame compared to the grotesque nature in the third act. You see, that's why it's brilliant, but without any blood or gore, it hits us hard where it counts, a violation of oneself. The transformation of a seemingly innocuous object like tree branches into being almost the last thing Cheryl sees. It's dark. It makes the eye gouging of Scott seem almost mild. You're alone in the middle of the cold, dark woods as the branches come to life, encompassing your entire body. No way. Especially since it literally holds Cheryl back before it goes in for the deep jab. Serves as a testament to the Evil Dead's ability to push boundaries.
Really, I had no idea they were gonna do that.
I didn't do fucking shit!
Giving the audience Michigan's version of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Of course, the idea of assault is squeamish on its own, but Sam's directing, of course, brings it to another level. The rapid cuts and disorienting camera angles heighten the sense of chaos. But it immerses us, right? We get these sort of hollow, eerie sound effects. Sam includes things like soft whispers and these ominous growls. A visceral combination of sight and sound. Or, if I want to be classy, of sound and vision. It's high-level stuff for a first feature, and, it's clear Sam had the gift early. Something as simple as tree branches come alive. This whole thing kind of encapsulates the willingness of Sam Raimi to think outside the box and push boundaries.
That he actually afterwards felt kind of like, that the tree wreck was a mistake. Obviously that the one bit's not repeated in the sequel or any of the other sequels.
There are tons of moments the Evil Dead shines through with. Yet, this was the one that marked me. The one that got under that chink of armor and sat a bit heavier. That's when I knew. I was like, you know what? I'm in good hands. Now when it came to Evil Dead 2, we got a higher budget and more of a monster-esque version of this scene, but the vindictiveness, that unsettling and unforgettable experience had been tamed down. Now, I'm sure there's an argument that the second one works better for viewers, or maybe it's more digestible, I don't know. But my money is on the shock you get when we close up to that shot, that look of fear in the eye of Ellen Sandweiss. What hammers this home, and why I wasn't upset about it being changed in part 2, is that The Evil Dead, it goes all the way. It wants to disturb, shake you. Unrelenting is how I used to sell it back in the early DVD days. Anytime I'd show it to new friends who had seen it, I would say, sit down, man. This one is unrelenting. And similar to the last act of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Evil Dead has this feeling of the walls coming in. Bruce Campbell's Ash is on the brink of insanity by the end, and he's now left alone in the middle of the woods with nothing but him and the evil. Of course, only for him to die, which, they retconned back in part 2, but for me, Evil Dead 1 will always end with the death of Ash. I'll always argue that what makes The Evil Dead a horror classic is that it succeeds because of its flaws, not despite them. The Evil Dead has the DNA of guerrilla filmmaking, elbow grease, DIY heart and soul storytelling, solidifying its place as an iconic movie in horror. But the charm of the first, the one that obviously was lost as it went along, and again, those are brilliant movies as well, but the charm of The Evil Dead is that it feels like a bunch of friends got together and make their horror movie. And this is their moment on camera. Widely accepted by people like me that they hit gold. And all this came through with a small scene in the woods where we, as a collective, knew we were in capable hands. I think we need to sit down and appreciate that we once lived in a time where a genre bender like Evil Dead 2 could get an unrated limited release, alter the tone from the first, create a leading man icon, memorable one-liners, and cement the Evil Dead series as a horror staple. Many things may be groovy, but they'll never be as groovy as a chainsaw-handed curmudgeon with a sawed-off. So let's talk Evil Dead 2.
Nice hearing from you, Carlos.
After the first Evil Dead, Sam, Bruce, and company wanted to branch out and, they wanted to do something different. Though they were fans of the horror genre, they didn't want to just be the horror guys, and so when Crime Wave came upon them, it seemed like a smart bet. Right? Not so much. As their first big studio film, the budget nearly doubled, and the shoot became a shit show. They lost control of the movie and it bombed. Not wanting to go back to the world of Evil Dead, but realizing it may be the best bet after the collapse of Crime Wave, Raimi had only intended to executive produce, even having Josh Becker, a friend and crew member on the original, even write up his own script. But the reason we are here today is because of the King. Maine's own Stephen King helped get Dino De Laurentiis to fund the project. And he was a big defender of the first. Hell, let's not forget his quote helped the little movie that could get the attention it needed.
I can't do that forever.
But the point of this is because of these events, Evil Dead 2 was made, and we are here today talking about it. Now, I have to assume if you're watching this video, you've seen the movie. But on the off chance you have not, and you're part of the, I'm assuming like the 1%, here's my pitch to you. A sweet but corny dude named Ash takes his girlfriend for a relaxing and, I assume, sex-filled romp at a cabin in the woods.
What do you say we have some champagne, huh, baby? Huh?
Sure.
Accidentally releasing Evil Incarnate. He must now deal with the supernatural entity that has made him its main focus, and grow to be the hero he was destined to be.
Let's go.
Why is this iconic? Why has it persevered and stood the test of time? Because something like this, in this style, this tone, and with this vibe, had never really been done before. Here's the thing, there are many brilliant scenes that could encapsulate the unique energy of Evil Dead 2, but one stands above the rest. And I'm talking about the loss of Ashley Williams and the birth of Ash.
Are you listening to me? Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm all right.
The understanding of the situation at hand. Deadite enlightenment. By now, Ash has lost his girlfriend, his hand, and his patience. After being waterboarded by a swimming pool of blood, Ash has finally lost his sanity. And though it will return, he will never be the same from this point going forward. We get a great comical chair break, with Ash almost nearing that sort of Looney Tunes vibe. Cut to a great Dutch angle, and Evil Dead 2 is born. The cabin fully coming alive to mock Ash just may be one of the greatest shifts a director could make. Of course, the hand scene was the obvious lead-in, and let's be honest, still has a charm that is timeless. Giving the finger still gets me. And is there nothing cooler than that ear twitch finalizing the perceived victory? No, not a chance.
Gotcha, didn't I, you little sucker?
When the deer head, dead-eyed eyes and all, cracks up, we finally hit the sweet spot. The energy of the series comes into its own, and it's this vibe that Sam and Bruce continued into the masterful Army of Darkness and stars Ash vs. Evil Dead. Okay, look at this. We get this stage-like lighting setup, mixed with the gray painted walls and good old glory, the 35mm film. It's wacky, it's funny, and kind of unnerving. Plus, is that lamp not the cutest f***ing thing you've ever seen? Even Ash, with a few marbles loose than earlier, gets on that little bright light of hope's wavelength. Like the great poet from the 20th century, a Robert Palmer once said in Riverboat, "We got love. We got love." And for the first time in the Evil Dead franchise, Ash momentarily understands. Then it immediately breaks him. Another iconic aspect that was perfected here and became the standard was the Deadite look. Of course, all this had its origins in the first film, but with an actual budget, you can see Raimi's vision come to fruition. And I'd actually like to give credit to Mark Shostrom, coming off Freddy's Revenge and From Beyond. Side note, I think Barbara Crampton might have been the first blonde I've ever loved. Believe in miracles. But Mark, he's been involved in so many great horror projects, and his involvement in this was a big reason the Deadites look the way they do. The sunken-in eyes, the odd teeth, the monstrosity transformation. When we think of Evil Dead and the Deadites, this is the iconic look. And of course, we also get the great K&B crew with Robert Kurtzman and the great Greg Nicotero, who were both instrumental as well. I mean, the team behind Evil Dead 2, the whole team, designed the look that would be used going forward, and a look that still holds up to this day.
My whole commitment to Evil Dead was 6 months, pretty much 7 days a week, but our prep time was a solid 12 weeks.
I mean, if you think about Evil Dead 2, everything here is a mix of luck, timing, skill, and movie magic. Of course, what's been said about the cast that I could say here, but they're great, with everyone making their part iconic. Bruce made the character of Ash here.
Swallow this.
And honestly, this may be the fan favorite iteration. Though, for me, the grumpy, fuck out of my face version will always win out. Sarah Berry plays the smart and tough Girl Scout-esque Annie. Dan Hicks plays a hillbilly so well I assumed he was Southern.
That's right. You ain't going there. And I remember just feeling so horrible for her, because you could see this big scars on her legs.
Cassie Wesley played both cute and trashy and nailed both. In the end, the fact that we can still praise and enjoy this 36 years later is a testament to the creative swings Sam Raimi took, and in doing so created a universe. Listen, Evil Dead 2 is a 10 out of 10, and there won't be any argument here. It is perfect, flaws and all. And you know what? To me, that's just groovy. Released to the masses on February 19th, 1993, with an epic sword and castle adventure putting Ash into the Middle Ages, the chosen one of course, and to put an end to the Deadites once and for all. What we got was a wild ride through time full of iconic one-liners.
Good. Bad. I'm the guy with the gun.
90s wit, classic practical effects, and more campy charm than you could shake a boomstick at. Since another anniversary is upon us, I'd like to celebrate the best incarnation of Ash to ever grace the silver screen. This, my friends, is Army of Darkness. With Evil Dead 2 debuting in 1987 and then Darkman, Sam Raimi's first big studio picture, being a modest hit, Army of Darkness was Sam returning with an $11 million budget to finish off the series, to put him on the map. This was to be a medieval adventure with our lovable Midwest loser. So how did we get here?
Jack and shit. And Jack left town.
There's always been this indie charm to the loose continuity of the Evil Dead series. Like, a few years of wisdom after always seems to alter where things ended up. The Evil Dead ends with the supposed death of Ashley Ash Williams. Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn plays both sides as a quasi-remake and sequel, summing up the first film in the opening 7 minutes, condensing the cabin adventure to now only Ash and Linda, with the rest being the continuation. Spoilers, Ash lives. Ending with our hero being thrust into the Middle Ages, instantly becoming a savior from the Deadites. And so Army of Darkness takes that time travel end note of the sequel and makes an entire story arc out of it. How does Ash become the hero and free these people from the terrors of the Deadites? Well, through stupidity and sheer will.
Hold it. Nobody said anything about 3 books.
And that's the thing, I find this to be the most engaging and entertaining entry that finds Bruce Campbell at peak Ash. A coward, a blowhard, and a hero. But more on that in a bit. And the funny thing is that Army of Darkness is an R-rated film. And it got an R rating only because the MPAA probably holds a list of offenders and they do not like to be slighted. Since Raimi and company went around the ratings board and made them for the fools that they are, parts 1 and 2 were very successful. Of course, those miserable would give this an R rating. In fact, the first rating they gave was an NC-17. Because let's be honest, revenge is a sweet dish and the MPAA wasn't here to play ball. Or as Bruce Campbell says it better.
That's all a crock of shit. Anyway, this movie should be rated PG.
And listen, in my heart, I would have loved some more blood, some gore. I really would have. But being that this was supposed to be the more sort of slapstick entry, I could live with it. It's here that Sam Raimi trades his majority share of horror for the humor that has always been at the heart of his style. There is a solid argument to make that Evil Dead 2 is the perfect balance of tones. And as a pragmatic man, I agree. Now the horror is there, but Army of Darkness is far more influenced by the Three Stooges and Jason and the Argonauts, ramped up by Raimi's perfected, embellished style. And that's why Army of Darkness stands so tall. It's a culmination of a young director using every trick he's learned to end his story in the most hilariously ferocious way possible. This is Raimi at his most fun and his most unhinged. There's this weird animation vibe of Ash holding the windmill door shut. It's so bizarre and unlike anything I've seen. The odd speed time when he is confronted by the witch. This stretched out frame of Evil Ash. I mean, the entire 3-book sequence. The elegant projection shot of the flipped Oldsmobile, and the perfect callback of the chainsaw build from part 2.
Groovy.
Under a less director, the weight of all of it would surely have collapsed, or worse, been neutered into something bland and straightforward. Sometimes it's the little things, like a blink and you'll miss it ball shot to Ash. But why, after so many years, does Army of Darkness have the fandom it does? Well, it's Bruce Campbell's final, at the time, iteration of Ash. The evolution is both odd yet brilliant. Ashley Williams was sweet-natured, a tad boring, and only reached any potential by feet-to-fire madness. Part 2, of course, quickened the process with Ash, though moronic, had a bit more of a backbone, finally finding his potential with the chainsaw hand and good old glory, the sawed-off. Here's the thing, and why this Ash is, the f***ing chef's kiss of the character. It's because Ash is at his most cynical, not hopeless.
I got it!
Is that would honestly take a certain amount of emotional intelligence that he just does not have. No, see, Ash here is fed up, he's grumpy, and so his level for bullshit is nearing 0. Building up to where we are now, with the events from the other films, it makes sense story-wise, giving us one lovable loudmouth braggart. But the question at hand is, are there more?
Nope. Just me, baby. Just me.
Whether it be shaking his boomstick while giving his retail sales speech, to being fed grapes by the sexy wenches, Ash is absolutely done with everything. And so we get one of the best one-liner quippy anti-heroes of the 1990s. I mean, honestly, I could do a whole video on just this, but for now, this will have to do.
How about some hot chocolate, huh?
Lady, I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to leave the store.
You found me beautiful once.
Honey, you got real ugly.
When Sheila comes in to apologize and Ash tells her to close the door, I mean, how was she raised in a barn? Only for a low in the mix audio response that you may have even missed answers just that.
Well, he was raised in a barn with all the other primitives.
And this was the last time, at least in film, that Ash was ever this sardonic. I mean, look at Ash from Ash vs. Evil Dead. He's happy. A man that in all this stupidness has found peace, spending his time trying to get laid before the last call.
You saved him.
In a lot of ways, he saved me.
Bringing back the Deadites because he's horny and didn't think that, reading from the book would be a bad idea. Fuck. The Ash from Army of Darkness is at that perfect crossroad of stupid youth, toughness, and ability. Of course, since it's less horror-focused in tone, we get the elaborate and goofy Deadite army, and all the practical effects that go along with bringing it to life, courtesy of the always excellent KMB, a great crew led by the now legends of Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger. We get everything in the kitchen sink bringing this to life. Puppets, miniatures, stop motion, rear projection, it's everything, baby. And how can you not have the time of your life here? It's that kind of film that being a part of would be a core experience in the story of life.
We were shooting 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. We were so exhausted, did some really great stuff. But God, I think my back is still hurting, and that was in 1990.
There are multiple edits and two distinct endings. One where Ash loses and one where he wins. And though I respect the original and agree it's more in line with the two that came before, honestly, for me personally, I'm glad to see Ash get a win. Plus, it's always been great thinking he's telling this story with no social radar and how fucking nuts he must seem.
Did you say the words right this time?
Well, maybe I didn't say every single tiny little syllable, no, but basically I said them, yeah.
I'm giving Army of Darkness a perfect 10. Now, before you cry, Evil Dead 2 gets the same rating.
Groovy.
This is the perfect end to a wild and wacky trilogy. One that feels like friends making something they love. One where you can feel and see the passion on screen. For those on the same wavelength, I hope you guys get where I stand. Movies shape us. Their stories are ones that inspire, comfort, and challenge. From seeing Army of Darkness at the Die-In Theater on Halstead in 1993, to growing up with the trilogy through VHS all the way to 4K. I'm glad that in the entire 4.5 billion years, the existence of Earth, I was around in the time where a third movie about a chainsaw-handed dunce couldn't get an $11 million budget and a major studio release, and hand in a time-traveling, horror-inspired Three Stooges closer, where its charm came from its flaws, and all the heart that went into this. Life can be pretty tough at times. I ain't denying it. But to think that this movie, Army of Darkness, could exist at that level makes me think sometimes, you know what? It ain't too bad.
Hail to the king, baby.